Well, hello everybody. I am so pleased to be able to connect with you again today. And I have another guest, an expert in her field, and she's got like so many degrees, I can't even count, but I'll let her tell you about that because I think it's really good to hear what people, what backs up what people are saying, which is awesome. But this is Julie Marsh. She is a dietitian in our area here in Brisbane, and she is a superstar. And I say that because everybody knows her. And I'm talking doctors, all sorts of people who have anything to do with health. Julie Marsh. Oh yes, do you know Julie Marsh? Oh yes, I know Julie Marsh. Yes, I know Julie Marsh. And not only that, she's an incredible person. She's so relatable. Her communication is amazing. She's very knowledgeable as well, and you'll see that as we continue on with this chat. But yeah, a lovely friend as well, a recent friend. And actually, we have something amazing in common, which we were very excited about to find out when we attended a footy match one time. Oh, I just let it slip. But we are both Brisbane Lions.
Brisbane Lions, go boys! Woo!
So this is awesome. I'm really happy that Julie's agreed to come on this podcast and share things regarding nutrition and maybe intersection of mental health as well.
Yeah.
And just how it impacts our lifestyle. And we know food is just a massive part of our lives, so important. So I'm really looking forward to this chat. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you, Nicole, for having me here. And Nicole and I are definitely huge, big Lions fans. We actually went down to Melbourne to watch the grand final last year together, which was fantastic. And I think sometimes I can be a little bit like a stalker, I think, of the boys. So I'm sure that they sit down there at the practice that I go down and watch them and they say, oh my God, here's that woman again. But they're fantastic, I love them, and we have a lot of great fun, cheering them on, don't we?
We do. And I led the Lions song down the grand final in the crowd.
Yep, it was great. And then we all followed suit. It was fantastic. I love being here with Nicole. So Nicole, I'm very blessed to call her a friend now, which is really lovely. She's a beautiful, beautiful person, and inside and out. And I don't know if you know, but she's also a wonderful singer. So her voice is like an angel, and she sings spiritual music. So if anyone's inclined, get onto Spotify. I listen to it on my Sundays, which are my days. And I share it.
Kind.
Yeah, well, I share it with my son and my family and my friends, and also patients.
Amazing.
So if you want to get onto that, it's beautiful. So
I am so honoured. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks for letting me be here today. So as Nicole said, and I joke quite often too, because I'm a bit of a geek. I absolutely love and adore how the body works. I think we're absolutely amazing, incredible machines. And we just need to give the body the right fuel and the nutrition that it needs, and it looks after itself. Our brain knows how to look after us, so we just need to make sure that we're giving it the right food. So I have a lot of different degrees. So I have, I think there's about 5. I have kinesiology, I have a diploma in health sciences, I have a bachelor in holistic health sciences from Quantum University, I have a bachelor in double degree in nutrition and dietetics from Griffith University. I did honours and started a PhD, but pulled back from that because it's just too time consuming. And I have also got a yoga degree, or yoga teacher training certificate. I've also got Tai Chi and Qigong, and I'm ready to start a new one, which is from Harvard Medical School. Very very excited, I must say.
Harvard, you didn't hear that wrong. It was the Harvard.
The Harvard Elite Medical School. So very blessed to do a postgrad course with them, and it's actually on lifestyle medicine and wellness coaching. And what that means is it's going to give us the skills and the tools to be able to help our patients learn the sustainable behaviour changes. So learning the psyche behind what's going on and what's stimulating our behaviours that create a bit of a challenge for us to get over. So being able to do that, and that's going to be part of our lifestyle clinic that Dr. Amrita Detal from Wellness Medical and I are starting, or we've already started it, but we're going a little bit deeper. And beautiful Dr. Amrita is also doing that course with me. So we're really excited to bring that to our people in Springfield.
Yes.
And I work across other 5 different clinics here in Springfield as well. And all of our GPs are, I'm very blessed to say that I work with a great team.
Amazing.
Because they listen to our patients, they help and care for our patients.
That's a big point of difference.
Huge.
Yep.
So if you're after any doctors to listen to you, to help you achieve your goals, please see these guys across the clinics that I work with, because they are fabulous. Yeah, and Nicole and I also work together in a few of them, don't we? We work with at Liberty Women's Wellness now, and also Wellness Medical, and also Nicole's going to be part of our lifestyle clinic as well. So a multidisciplinary team to help you achieve your goals in whatever that may be.
That is fantastic.
So I'm very blessed to be here. Yeah.
Absolutely. So let's get into gut health, all things food, and how that impacts our lives.
Fantastic. And I always come back to our body has not changed from millennia. So from when our evolution, however that we've come into being, our body's always been the same. And so when we're looking at our body, a lot of the times there's a lot of misinformation out there in social media, so it can be very, very conflicting and very, very confusing. But let's come back to basics, which is what we're going to do today.
Oh, that's incredible.
And I'm going to start with this beautiful book.
This beautiful
anatomy
book.
Worn,
well
as you
read,
can see,
well
read. It's my Bible, guys. So whenever I get confused with all of the information that's outside, I always come back to this. And anyone with a medical degree uses this. This is Anatomy and Physiology 101. So that's where we're going to start. Back to basics.
Amazing. Can't wait.
Let's go.
Excellent.
So this is Basic 101, Principles of Anatomy and Physiology, that every medical degree student learns, including doctors. That's our basic core. And if we come back to the basics of how our body works, our body, specifically our brain, is our engine. So I always get people to look at their body like a car. What happens to our car if we don't put enough fuel in it?
That's right. Doesn't work.
Exactly. It's easy,
in
right?
all sorts of ways.
Exactly right. What happens if we try to put too much fuel in at the petrol station?
It spills?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yep, it overflows.
Trick question.
Yeah, I was just going to say, these are easy, not trick questions. And then what would happen if we put the wrong fuel in? Because obviously we don't do that.
Sort of it doesn't go well in the gut of the car, I guess.
Exactly, yeah. And we can do damage to our motor, right? So our body is exactly the same. If we don't put enough fuel in, it's not going to be able to work properly. If we try to put too much fuel in, obviously we're going to get our reserve tank, because that's exactly what it becomes.
Yes.
And then of course, if we put the wrong fuel in, eventually the body will break down and let us know. So depending on what individuals' lifestyle, but also their body disposition, those things can differ between you, between me, and between Joe down the road, and of course our children. So what we need is completely different to what our children need.
You make a really good point. I know that I have my needs with food, and my husband is completely different. And I'm sure he looks on at me with sad eyes, saying, "Thank goodness I'm not like you."
And I understand that, because my partner does a similar thing to me. And we can just laugh about it now, but because it is so true. And that's why individualized care is really, really important, because everyone's body is different. And especially as we age, things are completely different. Children need a lot more nutritional needs, obviously, than what we do, because we're not growing anymore. But we often forget that we don't need that much food.
Do you mind if I interject something?
Please.
I just thought of a very practical thing. I have grandchildren. And I usually make for myself low carb meals. In fact, a lot of no carb meals. And these poor little ones, I'm always trying to think of things I can give them that don't include the bread or this. And then I'm thinking, or rice, and I'm thinking, well, hang on. That's exactly right. They need it and they're at a different point in life. So I'm so glad to hear that, because that makes me relax a little bit. I don't have to be as creative, because of course they're a bit more fussy as well. So they don't want the veggies and the fruit all the time. So thank you for that.
That's
Appreciate
okay.
it.
That is good. That is perfect. And you actually highlighted a really good thing too, because if we come back to the right fuel for our body, so the right fuel for the muscles in our arms, our legs and our torso is two types, so healthy fats and glucose, but the only fuel for our brain is glucose.
Oh,
so
wow.
carbs are essential for us to survive.
Oh.
So contrary to what's
sounding better and better.
So contrary to what's out there in social media, please do not listen to that out there, because they don't have science degrees, and the ones that do maybe are not necessarily being more individualised. It's just more of a general kind of thing instead of actually looking at personalised.
Yeah.
So when we're looking at our brain, remember your brain's your engine. So it needs to keep your heart pumping. And what happens if it doesn't have the fuel to be able to do that?
Tell us.
You'll die. Because
I wasn't sure if that's where you were going fully there, so okay.
So obviously we're joking about it because our body does have a backup, right?
Yeah, right.
But if we're not fueling our brain properly, the rest of the body will start to break down, because our brain needs to get the glucose from somewhere else, and it starts to tap into our muscles and it'll break down that. So it eats the proteins, converts the protein into glucose, and that will go to fuel the brain.
Okay.
And then of course it'll tap into our fat stores. Now this is where the trouble begins, because our fats are stored as a triglyceride, which means you've got 3 fatty acids attached to a glycerol backbone, okay? Those triglycerides are stored in our muscle cells, and every single cell in our body except our brain cells use all of that for fuel. And that's what you can tap into for weight loss, right? But if our brain needs it because she's starving, she hasn't got enough fuel, what happens is our body will break down that triglyceride, but the only part of that she can use for fuel is that glycerol backbone. So that converts into glucose and then will go to fuel the brain. But in that, obviously our triglycerides aren't supposed to be glucose. So in that conversion, we've got ketones and also fatty acids now floating around our body doing damage. So they increase our cholesterol, they increase inflammation, they increase weight, they increase blood glucose levels, and they increase acidity, which then decreases your pH, and your body is in complete and utter chaos. So what we find with people that are doing intermittent fasting or following a keto diet, what happens is their hormones, especially as we age as women, our hormones get affected, so we might experience early menopause, which we certainly don't want.
No.
Also, if our brain's not getting the fuel that it needs, the brain cells start to die. So we don't want that either.
No,
so, and then because that's going to lead to Alzheimer's and dementia, but also you highlighted before about this mix between psychology and food.
Mental health,
Mental health. If our brain cells are starved for nutrition, the brain can't work properly. So of course then we're going to have, our moods are going to change. We're not going to have capacity to be able to deal with stuff.
Absolutely.
Our emotional regulation won't be there either.
Speed of processing.
Correct. Yeah, all of that, because our brain's not getting the nutrition that it needs. And I see that a lot. And it's all because of that misinformation that's out there in social media land. And because we have easy access to all of that rubbish. Whereas years ago, we didn't have that access. So we kind of ate naturally and normally, right? Now, don't get me wrong, guys. Of course, if we have too much of anything, we're going to put weight on. Too much protein puts weight on. It doesn't put muscle on. It puts weight on. Too much carbohydrates puts weight on. Too much fats puts weight on. So it's learning what the right amount is. And that's where every single person is different.
I see.
And that's the important thing to remember.
Okay, great. So if we take one study, case study, if we're looking at, say, menopausal women, post-menopausal, because it's really only been the last few years, I believe, that information with regards to menopause is starting to get out there. So anything that you can share on that in terms of portion size and how that may adjust for women, I think there'll be a lot of ladies who are interested.
Yeah, I love that, because as we know, perimenopause, menopause and then post-menopause, Our body likes to put on a little bit of weight, but there is science behind all of that.
Okay.
So I love using, and please research her, guys. Dr. Lisa Mosconi is a neuroscientist. She's what I go on to help, and she's all about preventing our beautiful brain from deteriorating. So in her studies, you can find her on YouTube. She's also got a great website. She's got awesome TED Talks where she talks about the menopausal brain.
Yes.
But she is a neuroscientist who specialises in women's brain health.
We'll just spell that out.
Yep.
So it's Lisa, Mosconi.
Perfect.
Mosconi.
Yeah. So she wanted to investigate why women's brains are more susceptible to Alzheimer's and dementia than men's. So women are at a higher risk. Not saying that every woman gets that, of course, because we don't, but we are definitely at a higher risk for that. Yeah, okay. So when she was looking at the differences between men and women's brains, it all happens with regard to estrogen.
Good old estrogen.
Good old estrogen. So in all of her studies, she noticed that estradiol, which is one of our female hormones. So estrogen, in case you don't know, estrogens are collectively 3 different female hormones. Okay. Estradiol specifically brings glucose to the brain.
Wow.
So again, what happens, do you think, if that estradiol drops off?
It doesn't get to the brain.
Correct.
Yeah.
The glucose, so the only fuel for the brain, remember, doesn't get to the brain. So then our brain centres are not able to work properly. Hence why we get all of our menopause symptoms.
Right.
That's because the centres of the brain are not getting that. So obviously our reptilian brain, which is where we modulate our body temperature and our sleep and wake cycles. So as estradiol, you know
sleep.
You know what I'm going to say.
Very big link there to mental health.
Yeah, absolutely, exactly, and that's that lifestyle medicine coming together because it's not just one thing. But when we're going through our perimenopausal symptoms, we all know those sleepless nights and the insomnia that we get. But then also those hot flushes.
Yes.
So the hot flushes and the night sweats, all regulated by the reptilian brain. So if the reptilian brain's not getting the glucose that it requires, it can't work properly. Now, if we're not eating the right foods, that also, if we're cutting out our carbohydrates specifically, you're going to increase your symptoms.
So what are you giving me permission to eat when it comes to glucose? Should I pull out my party mix of lollies that are sitting there in the drawer and one gets taken out every couple of days?
Well, your brain needs a certain amount, so you can certainly have a certain amount, and it's feeding your brain the Diabetes Australia guidelines is actually having small meals spread out across the day. So that is what we should be doing because that gives us the fuel for the brain.
Great.
Your brain needs breakfast, morning tea, lunch, afternoon tea, dinner, and supper. You're like, yay.
I'm killing it. Not really, I'm joking. I'm doing pretty good, it sounds like.
And it's just making sure that we're getting carbohydrates in each of those.
Yes.
Now, of course, we also need protein because protein is Bob your builder. So we only need protein 3 times a day. Anything more than that, you're going to put weight on. Your body doesn't need it. So it says, okay, we're going to store that for later. We're not going to get rid of it. Now, unless you're a Brisbane Lions player, of course, and then Brisbane Lions players can have more because obviously they're running around.
But the fans, not so much?
Yeah, the fans, not so much. So those meat pies, your 4 and 20 meat pies.
Sausage rolls at the game.
Yeah, the game, all that kind of stuff. We can have those, but in moderation, right? So everything is about moderation, guys. And at the end of the day, it's just being real. We all know that diets don't work. We also know that if we're not, we can get that brain fog. And when we've got our menopause symptoms again, that's because of lack of glucose to the brain.
Right.
So we need that. We absolutely need that. Now,
this is good news.
As we were talking about with that weight gain, so what happens is, remember we talked about there's 3 different female hormones. One of them is estradiol, which that job is predominantly to bring glucose to the brain, and our HRT, etc., has got estradiol in it for obvious reasons. It brings that glucose to the brain, hence why our menopause symptoms disappear once we're on the HRT. So
Right.
Not necessarily saying that we have to be on that, guys. Just
because obviously there's some who
yes,
can't
correct,
be on it.
correct,
Yeah.
yeah. But just to give you the idea of why that works and why those symptoms disappear. Now, the reason that we pop the weight on is because in our fat cells we have another female hormone called estrone, and that our brain does such a great job of trying to correct things. She knows how to look after us and she knows how to keep us alive. So what she says is, okay guys, our estradiol is dropping off. We need that to bring glucose to the brain. So I'm going to stimulate the fat cells between our knees and our hips, because in that I know that we've got another female hormone called estrone, so I'm going to stimulate that more to try and get that glucose to the brain. It doesn't work, and we haven't evolved to understand that yet. However, that's why through perimenopause, menopause and postmenopause, we actually pop in on the weight. It's our body's way of trying to get that glucose to the brain.
Ah, I see.
So we need to make sure that we're having enough carbs, guys, to prevent that. What happens is, if our body's not getting those carbohydrates, our brain, then we actually get damage in our brain. So we get the inflammation and we get the Alzheimer plaques. Or amyloid plaques, whichever way you want to call it, that's what it is. And then we get more and more of that as the brain cells don't get that fuel, and then that can lead us to the Alzheimer's and dementia. So in Dr. Lisa Mosconi's book, she's got 4 of them, I've got all of them, and she goes through all the different foods that we need to help keep that brain health and prevent us from getting that. So in all of the work that I do, that is my focus. Men and women, it is just, and children of course, it is definitely not just our females, it's also everybody to help us protect our brain health, because it's the engine.
So while we're on the subject of carbohydrates, can you give us a few recommendations in that scope as to what you would say would actually assimilate well, good for the brain health, etc.?
Perfect. So if we're looking at carbohydrates, so we can get our carbs from all different kinds of fruits and vegetables, but also so we can get it from our dairy or our dairy alternatives, our fruits and our fruit juices, small amounts, because I know I heard you all just then say fruit juice, hasn't that got too much sugar in it? Yes, too much of it does, but a little bit of it doesn't. So we need that to fuel that brain. Then also our starchy veggies, so of course things like our sweet potato, our normal potato, our corn, our legumes and lentils, our cereals and grains, so our breads, our wraps, our rice, our pastas, our crustkits, our crackers, all of those things. And then of course any of our fun foods that we can still have, but it's just how much is enough and then where do we put it. So as I mentioned, it's really important to have our breakfast, morning tea, lunch, afternoon tea, dinner and supper, but just small amounts spread out across the day. So when we're looking at portion sizes, so for instance, I didn't bring my apple with me, but a medium apple, perfect serving size to fuel that brain for morning tea and afternoon tea. Banana, perfect, again, and again, portion sizes. So if we were to have, you know how you can get those really big Cavendish bananas? Half of that would be perfect. Anything more than that's too much. Again. And then now, the guidelines that I'm giving, because remember everyone's individual.
That's right.
The guidelines I'm giving is the minimum that our brain requires, right? If we're exercising, if we're doing movement, if we're using our brain as really a lot of consecutive function, we need more than that to help that brain. So this is just the minimum. And then if we're looking at portion sizes for our potatoes, for instance, half a cup. Sweet potato, half a cup of normal potato, half a cup of corn, all those kinds of things. And again, yum, because you don't have to miss out on them. If we're looking at our rice, so I know what you're all thinking, rice is the devil. No, it's not. Remember, it needs to fuel the brain. I get that all the time. People, carbs are bad. No, they're not. They need to fuel your brain. Please remember, if you get anything from this, it's all about making sure that you're giving fuel to that brain, because she is your engine and she runs everything and she needs it. So when we're looking at our rice, so again, rice, you're looking at about 1/3 of a cup of rice. Sometimes you can bring it up to 1/2 a cup of rice. Pasta, 1/2 a cup to 3/4 of a cup. You know, and then when you're looking at chocolate, yes, you can still have chocolate. When you're looking at chocolate, it's like 4 squares. You know, so if you're able to handle just 4 squares,
4 squares,
all those lollies that you mentioned.
That's where I get my carbs from, chocolate. How would that be if I just had my chocolate with all those portions and not the rice? And not, just kidding. Is that a hack?
I love it. That's a great thought. But then this comes back to how you mentioned before about brain health and eating healthy.
Yes.
And that gut-brain link.
Yes,
and I know you and I have
absolutely.
discussed this before, right? Because when we're looking at our moods, our mental capacity, the second brain is in our gut.
The second
brain, yeah. So we've got that gut-brain axis, they call it, and what that means is our brain and how our moods are directly related to our digestive system and the gut bacteria that are in there. So not only does our brain require glucose and those carbohydrates, but so too does our good bacteria. And our good bacteria have evolved with man since the dawn of time to help us break down our foods, because we can't do it ourselves. We don't have enough cells in our body to do it. In fact, we've got more of these guys in our gut than we do our own cells in our body. So they're very important.
Yes.
And what happens is if we don't feed them properly, they also die off, and then they create inflammation in our body.
Yes, inflammation, huge. Under mental health, physical health, etc.
Yes.
Massive.
Yeah. So you can see how it all cycles around.
Absolutely.
It's like a big
Holistic.
circle.
Holistic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Sounds good. That's amazing. There's so many gems and scientific terms that Julie's used in there. We can see the research, the credibility, but also the practical, the easy for a user, a consumer to understand as well. So that's amazing. Thank you. Okay, so what else have we got here? I think you've actually covered a few of these. Maybe there's one here and you'll have some other subjects, but we know some people have eating challenges, eating disorders. We know there's a big link between anxiety, possibly self-esteem.
Absolutely.
Is there anything in that space that you'd like to talk about? It's not actually an area I focus on in terms of my own practice, so I'd be very interested to hear.
Perfect. Yeah. And again, it all comes back to making sure that you're feeding that brain properly. Because again, it's all about that mental capacity. And I know that you mentioned before about whole foods. Beautiful. Because again, whole foods give us those carbohydrates in those specific portions that we need, but also help to fuel that gut health as well. Look, I'm going to suggest that I think a lot of us think about food quite a lot and what we should or shouldn't be eating. And so I see a lot of distorted eating behaviours coming through, and I think it directly relates back to the wrong information that we're getting.
Right.
Because I see people's anxiety come up
Interesting.
even when I suggest, and to our listeners, you might even have the same thought when we've been chatting here. I get a lot of people, the anxiety that I see with them when I say, we need to eat some more food here, you're actually not eating enough food.
Wow.
And they'll go,
that's so interesting.
Yeah, oh no, I can't eat any more food because then I'm going to put weight
interesting.
on. Completely opposite. So when we're eating with our eating disorders, for instance, it's very hard because our brain is telling us, no, this is bad.
Yes.
We can't eat that. But the reasons it's saying that is because the brain cells are so malnourished that it's not thinking properly.
Yes.
You know?
And I believe even they're distorted in what they actually can see of it in the mirror.
Yeah.
So that's, it's incredible that, again, that holistic impact. Yeah.
And so a lot of people focus on proteins and all of our non-starchy veggies, which is a great element that we have to. Yeah, absolutely. Because 100% of that pop on the weight. But if we're restricting the carbohydrates and our healthy fats as well, our brain then is not going to be able to work very well.
That's right.
And so it's not going to be able to have that capacity, the moods, the anxiety sparks up because we're not actually feeding our brain properly.
Yeah, awesome.
So tidbits for you that you could easily bring in with your patients is, what are you eating? And I know even though it's not in your scope, we can still ask the question.
Absolutely.
And you would then be able to say from your own professional aspect, okay, cool, these people know.
Absolutely. No, we know that it actually impacts general well-being, lifestyle, things such as what we're eating, sleep, exercise, etc. That's a big part of what we do, ensuring that that's happening. If there's a challenge with it, we then can refer on to people like yourself.
And same, I do the same thing, you know. So it's really, it's just having those questions, I think, answering that, like having that in the back of your mind of going, okay, cool, what are we actually eating here? Okay, cool, it's probably not enough. Now that you've got that knowledge of making sure that we're having carbohydrates 6 times a day, it's really important. Again, portion sizes. So depending on if we are doing that movement or if we're exercising, we need to have more than anyone else. I always use Chris Hemsworth analogy. You know, so if we look at Chris Hemsworth, for instance, so if we look at Chris Hemsworth as Thor, so I'm going to ask you, Nicole, how much do you think he weighs? I mean, obviously this is going to be a guess, but how much do you think he weighs?
When he's Thor, or
when he's Thor? When he's Thor.
Oh, okay. Maybe 4 times what I. 4 times. No, maybe not. If I was maybe your weight, 4 times your weight. Sorry.
No, you're probably right.
Really?
So it's around.
Because muscle's heavy, isn't it?
Yes.
It's the muscle. It's the muscle.
That is perfect. This is why we don't use scales or anything, because that in itself sparks up anxiety and our mental brain capacity as well. So when we're looking at his body, he'd be about 100 to 130 kilograms, right?
Okay.
Depending
not
on his
quite
muscle.
4 times my size,
because I don't know. So if we were to look at him and if we were to go under the normal scales, he would be classed as morbidly obese. But I'm going to ask you, does he look that? Because he doesn't have any fat on him. It's all muscle.
That's incredible insight. Yes.
So that's
those scales that they have, even in the waiting room at professional, medical suites and so forth, they might have a range. I've actually seen them.
Oh, I was going to say,
I've seen them, and I'm like, okay, I thought I was all right, but looking at that, maybe I'm not.
Yeah.
So that's interesting that you say that, because again it comes down to the body and what it's made up of, muscles, etc.
Exactly. And you highlighted so well just before when you said muscle weighs more. Muscle weighs more than fat. So this is why I never use scales. I don't use scales. I use a body comp, which is a body composition scale, which shows us the difference between fat mass and muscle mass, and that's what we look at because we want to change the body composition. Because that is where it changes. So we don't need to count calories or kilojoules, which again creates those distorted eating behaviours and incorrect information and keeps us very much focused on that. We don't need to do that. It's not about restrictive eating. It's actually about learning how your body works properly and then how we work with that to suit your lifestyle and your needs, because at the end of the day, we're all juggling different things. So it's got to fit in there so that it's actually sustainable for us, but that our body's also getting all that nutrition that it requires to then help the brain to function well. It all comes back to the brain, So there's a really good whole foods book that I recommend. It's got, if you have a look at that, just look at that.
It's beautiful. Oh, look at that
beautiful.
one.
I know. And look, even pancakes, guys, so we can do things to help add extra nutrition into it, like putting in some protein powder. But again, it's the whole foods that deeply nourish our brain and our gut flora, so that we've got everything working together to help that brain to function well. And once your brain is functioning well, the rest of the body looks after itself.
What you're talking about is quite freeing, I think, and talking about carbs and talking about the scales and talking about having a little bit, and it's a different slant. isn't it?
Yeah.
Which I think would help people with pressure that they put on themselves. And there's so much information, and we do say to clients as well in psychology, careful what you're Googling, careful of the things that you're reading. We have to make sure these are evidence-based. Not everybody is on the scale of each bit of research, there's little outliers, but we've got to try and gather around that majority. So yes, people, be careful what you're reading, researching.
I love that. Exactly right. And usually when we're looking at research, unless it's a longitudinal study, right?
Absolutely.
They're not following the people
Yes.
from when they first implement these different things.
Yes.
So usually it's just a certain short time frame, usually a couple of months, if that. Sometimes it's weeks, where they're just monitoring and they're seeing these changes,
Yes.
but then they're not looking at the long-term
And I have a
aspects.
perfect example of that, and this might be a bit contentious, but gentle parenting, and that's not necessarily to do with your area, but I'm sure that you know about it, because you know about a lot of stuff. We know that there isn't any longitudinal studies on that, and yet people are, sharing their own journey and saying this is the way to go. It can be a very hard road, and I think we need to have more answers to that before. So I just remembered that when you said that, that is actually a current thing that is happening that there are concerns about.
Because we don't know long term what's that setting everyone up for. So exactly
Good point.
right.
Thank you.
And I think too, the whole AI. So
absolutely.
as
Once again,
you're aware,
yes.
AI guys can't tell the difference between what's real and what's not real. So the amount of information that's out there, again, it is only going to take an overview of the first top 10 stories.
Right.
If the first top 10 stories are complete and utter rubbish, or even 5% of them, it's still going to give you the wrong information, and you can't decipher the difference. So eventually, I am really fearful, to be honest, about what information is going to be out there, and because already there's a lot of misinformation out there.
Right, that's another good point. Thanks for flagging that, Julie.
So if we, at the end of the day, we're not going to know what's real and what's not real if we continue to use AI.
Scary.
So it is very scary. So again, it's coming back to science. Our bodies haven't changed. We still work the same way.
Yes.
Anatomy and physiology, and you could see, if you can't see, my book is very well worn because I read it like a Bible.
That's right, I can see it.
You can confirm the edges. So definitely well used, because I go through it all the time and go, hang on, let me just come back, because even I get caught up sometimes with the information that's out there. I'm like, we can't eat that much protein. If we're eating that much protein, we're going to set ourselves up for kidney failure. Our gut flora is going to die off, so then we're going to have brain capacity is going to be wrong, and we're going to be putting on way too much weight. So again, everything in moderation. If we come back to the analogy of the car analogy that I use with the engine, so you know your oil dipstick, when you're checking your oil.
I know how to do that.
Yes, great. So we've got a low line, which is the minimum that we can put, the minimum that we need, and then we've got a maximum. So if we don't put enough oil in the car,
it's going to fall below that low.
And then we seize the motor. And if we put too much in, it's going to put too much pressure in the motor, and we blow the motor.
Perfect.
So our body is the same. Not enough, she isn't going to work properly. Too much, she's not going to work properly. So we find that fine line and that sweet spot in between those two markers. And as I highlighted before, depending on your lifestyle, depending on your health and your illness, whatever that may be.
Stage of life.
All of that changes.
Yes.
So that's why it's important to get that individual care.
That sweet spot. I was about to say that. So people are not really settling, finding that sweet spot with the general tips that you've given and other things that doctors recommend and so forth. So it would be good to get that individual input.
Absolutely.
Very important to do so.
Yes.
Yeah, because you'll take those factors into account.
Absolutely.
And you'll probably look at, well, where have the changes have been and what do you need as a person and so forth. So that's really cool.
And what you've already tried, what has worked, what hasn't worked. Like I do get a lot of people coming in and they'll say, let's use the weight loss thing. Okay. So I've tried everything. I don't know why I'm not eating anything. Don't know why I'm not losing weight. That's the reason why we're not losing weight, because we're not eating anything, right? So again, coming back to the brain needing that fuel. If she's not getting that, she's going to hang on to it. So that's why intermittent fasting diets, keto doesn't work. So straight up it does, because you're actually starving the brain, and then it's drawing down from your muscles and from your fat reserves, which aren't meant to be drawn down from. So we lose that weight, but then eventually, and I know you'll all understand this when I say this, but eventually the brain's, because she's smart, she's very smart, and she'll just say, you've starved me, we're going to plateau.
Yes.
And then we're going to put all that weight back on again and more, because you've starved me for so long. So we muck up our metabolism, because our metabolism slows down, because again, we're not fueling the brain properly. So then we have to re-educate, so the brain to understand that she's safe and that you're going to feed her. Because if we don't feed her,
you're going to survive.
Yes,
that's
exactly right.
Survival mode.
Survival mode, yeah. So just those kind of tips in itself, is different to what's out there in the media, because they're not focusing on those long-term issues which happen when we don't feed that brain properly.
There is a lot, I must say, there's a lot of fasting information out there. But the interesting thing I've found is this person will say fast then, this person will say fast then. It's like quite conflicting. So again, it's not personalised to the person. It's like, okay, so I'm not meant to eat from here to here, but this person's saying don't eat from here, and help me.
And we need to eat because your brain needs the fuel. So let's not do the fasting. Okay. We fast, and even Dr. Lisa Mosconi in her books, so remember she's a neuroscientist. That specifically specialises in brain health, right? Specifically to prevent dementia and Alzheimer's.
Right.
And so what she has in there is, which is what I've always said, and if I showed you, you'd be able to see in my book, I've actually got, oh my goodness, this is what I've been saying to everybody, written in pink in my book. And what she says there is, we automatically fast overnight.
That's right.
That's all our body needs. Hence why breakfast is called breakfast.
Breakfast, that's it.
Because we need that. We've fasted through the night. Our body's gone, okay, between 1 and 3 a.m. in the morning, the brain sends a message to the liver to say, hey guys, dawn's coming. Liver, you need to break down that glycogen, convert that back into glucose for me, and that's going to fuel the brain so that we can actually get out of bed. And then from there, we start our day with having those small amounts of food spread across the day. So our body's amazing, but we just need to fuel her properly, you know? So, coming back in again, individualised care, making sure that we're getting those small amounts of food, which then helps our brain to be able to handle the stresses of life. The sleep, the anxiety, the brain health, the moods, stress levels, all of that comes back to once she's fed, she's okay, and she can deal with those stresses of the day and interactions of the day, and make sure that she's meeting those work demands as well, which are really
being able to think and retrieve words from our mind and so forth.
Especially, we all know what that's like. Perimenopause, menopause. We're looking. What's that word? Oh yes, it's apple. I forgot it.
I love that. That's hilarious.
We all know what that's like, don't we? We're sitting there going, it's there. I just can't.
Maybe me one on the table. What's that word?
And it's just because we need more glucose to the brain. And it's, as we mentioned before, it's the perimenopause where the estradiol's not bringing that glucose to the brain. So we just need to make sure that we are feeding her properly.
That's awesome. Amazing information. Now, coming into land, you and I were at a footy game. Nearly forgot that word. Last year. I do. Actually, this is the first one I saw you at, and then we realised that we were both Lions fans. And we're pretty keen fans, I would say. You maybe a tad, you're probably going over to the obsessive realm.
I'm sure the guys see me down at training.
Obsessed.
I'm sure the guys see me down at the training sessions and go, oh my God, it's that crazy woman.
Don't we know that place?
I actually saw one of the dudes, Levi Ashcroft, in a cafe down at the Gold Coast, and I was waiting. It's one of my son's favourite cafes, and I'm like to my partner, I'm punching him in the stomach, going, oh my God. And my partner turned around and he said, really? Like, your face is bright red. And I'm like, it's Levi Ashcroft. Like, and the poor dude's trying to hide from people. I could see because he wasn't trying to make eye contact.
He wasn't even in his home.
No, he was down the coast.
So this is what we mean by, so she gets very excited. And it's lovely. I love seeing people get excited and enjoying their joy and emotions and everything. So we're at that footy game. And the first one, and we were sitting together, and I hadn't had dinner. And I said, okay, Julie, as a dietitian, if I want to have something healthy when I leave here, what would you recommend? So if you've got any tips, this is a very practical question. I know what you recommended to me, and you might remember, but
it was GYG, wasn't it?
That's right. And we've had numerous of those since, which has been incredible. And I said, and she told me it had rice, and I'm going, oh, rice? Do you remember that?
Yes, we need it for the brain.
I should have done this podcast before I actually, But anyway, any more tips there that you can give for people who can eat out, need something on the run? Because it's always really difficult.
It is challenging.
You know, takeaway can have a lot of, oils and all that, carbs and da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
Over to you.
And you've highlighted a really great thing there, which is the fats and the sugars.
Yes.
So, if I don't know if any of you remember, but when Subway first came to Australia, they had to change the recipe for their bread because it was so full of sugar that it was classed as a dessert here in Australia.
Right. Oh, actually, I think I've heard that for McDonald's buns.
And same thing, there you go. Same thing.
Yep.
So it is quite challenging, and sometimes we think that those things would be a healthy option, but perhaps not. So if we look at wraps are always a great option because again you're getting the carbohydrate without it being too much.
Yes.
Usually they don't have too much. If they do have extra sugars in it, they don't have too much of those. You could easily get a chicken salad sandwich. Chicken salad wrap, my apologies, chicken salad wrap. That can be an option. There's quite a few of them. I mean, you can even get that at McDonald's. So again, chicken salad wrap.
Yes.
GYG is definitely a go-to for me because it does have all the right ingredients.
And fresh ingredients.
So some of you might already, I was wondering how to word this because some of you might already be aware that when we're looking at charcoal, so like grilled things and charcoal things, that has got a specific link to cancer and tried and proven over many I think it's over the last 30 years, I think, scientific evidence.
So good.
I know. But again, everything in moderation and everything can be counteracted. So my usual go-to at like GYG would be a mini bowl because obviously the mini perfect portion size. You're going to get, and I change my white rice for brown rice. Brown rice.
Lovely.
I get the vegetables. So you've got the veggies and the guacamole. So the guacamole is your healthy fats.
Yes.
The veggies, the fibre and everything, and they're all the non-starchy veggies. And then I ask them to add the chicken for my protein. So again, it's just a small portion size. So I've got a small portion size of the chicken.
Everything in there.
Everything in there. Fuel for my brain. Fuel for your, the good bacteria in there as well.
The second brain.
Great. Yes, perfect. And then you've got your non-starchy veggies, which helps you to fill up, but also gives you the fibre that you need. And you've got those healthy fats. So it's perfect. Or even, I really don't mind the burritos because again, then you've got your carbohydrate on the outside. But again, I would just say the mini style. So mini size. Ties and things like that. Again, it's just watching the portion size of the carbohydrates. But again, they're great, fresh. Italian, I do love Italian. So Vapiano's here is really great. Their portion sizes aren't too bad. You can always half your portion size, take home and have it 2 hours later. And then again, you're not popping on the weight because when we have too much in one hit that our body stores it. But if we halve those, perfect.
Great.
And again, you've got your pasta, you've got your meat. You might need to get some sides with the Italian. You get the sides of your veggies or your salad. But that's an option.
They're great. Yes.
What other things?
It's very practical because they are the local.
Yeah, fish and chips are good. Again, get your grilled fish.
Yes, grilled fish. Love it.
With a small amount of chippies.
Great.
And again, if it's not all the time, because all that is, you know, like you've got the fats from when they get deep fried, so that can be an issue. So if it's every now and then, that's going to be fine as well. Yeah. Unless you do it at home in your air fryer.
True.
That's perfect.
True. Yeah. That's great, Julie. Thank you.
Thanks for asking that question, because that's true, right?
Yes.
So
it can be a real trap for people on the run.
It can be.
Yeah.
And other than that, you can always have a chicken salad sandwich.
Yeah, that's true.
That in itself is fine too.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Any other questions? What do you think we
Well, I think we've covered most things.
I think we have too.
This has been amazing. Thank you so much for your wonderful way of communicating. Julie, she's got such an amazing energy in terms of she's passionate about everything. I love that about you.
Thank you.
And obviously so much knowledge and just walks the talk as well. And amazing person. So I really appreciate you coming.
Thank you. It's
And
been great.
yeah, well, I hope that everybody was benefit. I'm sure you have. We'll be putting some links underneath and sharing the love. And I'm sure there'll be a contact there for Julie directly as well, because that's really important that we have a go-to and we're not just trying to work out these things in our head.
Yeah. And I think that that creates that confusion, and
Yes.
then we start to, I think the most important thing to take home from that, we start to not feel comfortable with ourselves and start to not trust ourselves. And we don't know, because we don't know which way to go, and we don't know what's real and what's not, frustration,
and
all
that might just make us give up about it all
Correct.
and just it's too hard.
When actually it's quite easy. You just need to get the right advice.
Yeah,
so
sounds good.
Yeah, love to see you. Thank you, sweetie. It's been absolutely fantastic.
Thank
I loved
you,
it.
Julie.
It's so much fun. Go the Lions.
Woo!